Greetings aspirants, hope you are doing well. Welcome to the daily news analysis by CivicCentre IAS, where we try to discuss the relevant articles from the Hindu, the Indian Express and the PIB from the UPSC CSC prelims perspective. Displayed are the list of topics which we are going to discuss in today's video. The first article of the day says that the Kerala government had requested the centre to declare landslides that devastated at least 3 villages in Wayanad a national disaster. In this context, let us talk about it in brief. Firstly, as per the Disaster Management Act of 2005, disaster means a catastrophe, mishap, calamity or grave occurrence in any area arising from natural or man-made causes or by accident or negligence, which results in substantial loss of life or human suffering or damage to, and destruction of property or damage to or degradation of environment, and is of such a nature or magnitude as to be beyond the coping capacity of the community of the affected area. For instance, a natural disaster may include cyclones, tsunami, heat wave, landslides, earthquakes, flood, urban flood, etc. And contrastingly, a man-made disaster can be chemical, nuclear or biological. It can be noted that there is no provision to declare a natural calamity as a national calamity. Now, what is a landslide? See, a landslide is a rapid sliding of large mass of bedrocks. So, a landslide is the movement of the rock, earth or debris down a slope occurring either abruptly or gradually over an extended duration. Notably, the occurrence of a landslide results from the force of gravity surpassing the resisting forces of a slope. Further, know that various external factors contribute to landslides such as intense rainfall causing ground saturation. Then, erosion at the base of a slope, and changes in the material strength due to weathering. The second article of the day says that the former Minority Affairs Minister and senior BJP leader Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi on Sunday said that the Waqf system has come out of the touch me not syndrome and asserted that a communal attack on inclusive reforms is not right. In this context, let us talk about the aspects related to Waqf. Firstly, what is Waqf? See, Waqf is the property given in the name of God for religious and charitable purposes. In legal terms, you can define it as a permanent dedication by a person professing Islam of any movable or immovable property for any purpose recognized by the Muslim law as pious, religious or charitable. Notably, Waqf can be formed through a deed or instrument, or a property can be deemed Waqf if it has been used for religious or charitable purposes for a long period of time. Further, a person creating the Waqf cannot take back the property and the Waqf would be continuing entity. Know that a non-Muslim can also create a Waqf, but the individual must profess Islam and the objective of creating the Waqf has to be Islamic. Then, how is a Waqf governed? Notably, Waqfs in India are governed by the Waqf Act of 1995. Lastly, what is a Waqf board? See, a Waqf board is a juristic person with power to acquire and hold the property and to transfer any such property. Further, the board can sue and be sued in a court as it is recognized as a legal entity or juristic person. The next article says that over 40 people were still missing after a series of cloudbursts occurred in Kulu's, Nirmand, Sainj and Malana, Mandi's Bhadar and Shimla's Rampur. In this context, let us briefly touch upon the concept of cloudbursts. So, what are cloudbursts? See, a cloudburst is a localized but intense rainfall activity. But you have to know that not all instances of very heavy rainfall are cloudbursts. Know that a cloudburst has a very specific definition, and that is rainfall of 10 centimeters or more in an hour over roughly 10 km by 10 km area is classified as a cloudburst event. By this definition, you can also say that 5 centimeters rainfall in a half an hour period over the same area would also be categorized as a cloudburst. Notably, no forecast ever mentions a possibility of a cloudburst. But there are warnings for heavy to very heavy rainfall events, and these are routinely forecast 4 to 5 days in advance. Significantly, most of these happen in the Himalayan states where the local topology, wind systems and temperature gradients between the lower and upper atmosphere facilitate the occurrence of such events. The next article says that only 90,000 released in 2023-24 as allowance for workers who are not provided under the scheme. Further, the report also says that such figures do not reflect true demand and rural distress. In this context, let us talk about the MNGREGS scheme. See, it is an act to provide for the enhancement of livelihood security of the households in the rural areas of the country. This is done by providing at least 100 days of guaranteed wage employment in every financial year to every household whose adult members volunteer to do unskilled manual work and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Further, this act may be called the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act of 2005. Significantly, under the scheme, if the work is not provided within 15 days from when it is demanded, the worker has to be given a daily unemployment allowance. Additionally, the wages of the unskilled workers also have to be paid within 15 days, and in case of a delay, the center has to compensate them. Now, who all are eligible for this scheme? See, for receiving the benefits of the MNGREGS scheme, the following eligibility criteria are to be met by the applicant. They are: first, he or she should be a citizen of India. Then, they should be of 18 years of age at the time of application. Thirdly, they should be from the rural household. And lastly, they must be willing to do unskilled work. Know that the implementing agency of this scheme is the Ministry of Rural Development. The next article says that the Supreme Court has held that the banks or creditors are required to identify the incipient stress in the accounts of micro, small and medium scale enterprises before the accounts turn into non-performing assets. In this context, let us see what are MSMEs first, then we'll talk about non-performing assets, and lastly we'll touch upon the SARFAESI Act. See, the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act, which was notified in the year 2006 to address the policy issues affecting MSMEs as well as the coverage and investment ceiling of the sector. We call an entity a micro enterprise where the investment in the plant and machinery or the equipment does not exceed 1 crore rupees and the turnover does not exceed 5 crore rupees. Then a small enterprise is such an entity where the investment in plant and machinery or the equipment does not exceed 10 crore rupees and the turnover does not exceed 50 crore rupees. Lastly, a medium enterprise is such an enterprise where the investment in plant and machinery or the equipment does not exceed 50 crore rupees and the turnover does not exceed 250 crore rupees. Then what are non-performing assets? See, a non-performing asset is a loan or advance for which the principal or the interest payment remained overdue for a period of 90 days. Further, the banks are required to classify NPAs further into substandard, doubtful and loss assets. Firstly, the substandard assets are those assets which have remained NPA for a period less than or equal to 12 months. Then we call an asset as a doubtful asset if it has remained in the substandard category for a period of 12 months. Lastly, as per RBI, loss asset can be considered uncollectible and of such little value that its continuance as a bankable asset is not warranted, although there may be some salvage or recovery value. Next, what is SARFAESI Act of 2002? See, the SARFAESI Act stands for the Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act. Know that it is a legal framework which is enacted by the Indian government to tackle non-performing assets and facilitate asset reconstruction. Further, the Act empowers the banks and financial institutions to take action against the defaulting borrowers and recover their dues. The next article says that the foreign portfolio investors put in 32,365 crore rupees in the equities in the July month due to the expectations of the ongoing policy reforms, steady economic growth and an earnings season that exceeded the forecasts. So, this significant capital influx indicates a growing investor confidence in the Indian market's potential and also economic stability. In this context, let us talk about the foreign portfolio investment. See, the foreign portfolio investment refers to the purchase and holding of a wide array of foreign financial assets by the investors seeking to invest in a country outside their own. For instance, FPIs include stocks, bonds, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, American depository receipts, and global depository receipts. Notably, the foreign portfolio investment is part of a country's capital account and is shown on its balance of payments. Further, the foreign portfolio investment generally intends to invest money into the foreign country's stock market to generate a quick return. Significantly in India, foreign portfolio investment is regulated by the Securities and Exchange Board of India. Also, know that the FPI in India refers to the investment groups or the foreign institutional investors and the qualified foreign investors. Now, what drives the flow of a FPI into a country? See, there are many factors such as economic stability, growth prospects, favorable regulatory environments, and attractive returns draw FPI into a country. But there are risks also associated with it, like the currency fluctuations, political instability, different regulatory environments, and economic volatility in the foreign market. The next article is about the Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi saying that India has the solution in the form of millet farming to address global challenges on nutrition, water scarcity, and climate change. Further, he mentioned that the challenges before the sustainable agriculture and food systems can only be tackled under the holistic approach of one earth, one family, and one future. In this context, let us talk about millets. So, millets are a group of small seeded grasses. Some of the examples of millets include sorghum, pearl millet, finger millet, barnyard millet, proso millet, kodo millet, buckwheat, amaranthus, and foxtail millet. They are also called as nutritional cereals. Significantly, India is the world's largest producer of millets with a share of 38.40 of the world's population. Know that millets are highly adaptive to a wide range of ecological conditions and thrive well in the rain-fed, arid climate and have minimal requirement of water, fertilizers and pesticides. If we have to talk about the major millets producing states in India, they are the states of Rajasthan, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Currently, together these 10 states account for around 99% in the millets production in India during the period 2023-24. Significantly, the year 2018 was observed as the National Year of Millets. Further, the United Nations General Assembly adopted an Indian-sponsored resolution to mark the year 2023 as the International Year of Millets. The next article says that under the Atal Mission for Regeneration and Urban Transformation, in short called the AMRUT 2.0, cities are likely to initiate projects worth 5,000 crore rupees covering water supply, sewage treatment and rejuvenation of water bodies and parks as a part of the 100-day agenda of the National Democratic Alliance government during its third term. In this context, let us talk about the AMRUT mission and later about AMRUT 2.0. Firstly, the Atal Mission for the Regeneration and Urban Transformation was launched on June 25th of 2015. It was targeting 500 cities and towns in India. Significantly, its objectives include providing every household with a tap and sewerage connection, increasing the amenity value of the cities through greenery and parks, and reducing the pollution by promoting public and non-motorized transport. Building on that, the AMRUT 2.0 was launched on October 1st of 2021. Know that it aims to achieve universal water supply coverage and improve sewerage or septage management in the initially targeted 500 cities. Further, it promotes a circular economy of water, including water recycling, reuse of treated sewage, regeneration of water bodies, and water conservation. Further, the mission focuses on reforms to improve the citizens' ease of living through better water management, urban planning, and financial strengthening. Now, if we look at the key components of the AMRUT 2.0, it includes three, which are firstly, Peyajal Survekshan for equitable water distribution and healthy competition among cities. Secondly, technology submission to leverage the global water technologies. Lastly, information, education and communication campaigns to raise water conservation awareness. Notably, the total indicative outlay for AMRUT 2.0 is 2,99,000 crore rupees, with the central share being 76,760 crore rupees over the 5 years. Lastly, know that as of May 19, 2024, 83,357 crore rupees has been disbursed, resulting in 58,66,237 tap connections, 37,49,467 sewerage connections, development of 2,411 parks, and the replacement of 62,78,571 LED lights. That's a very huge number. The next article says that the Reserve Bank of India's 6-member Monetary Policy Committee, which is scheduled to meet from the August 6th to August 8th, is likely to keep the repo rate, which is the key policy rate, unchanged at 6.5%. This is due to the risks from higher food inflation. Further, experts said that the committee is also expected to continue with the monetary policy stance of withdrawal of accommodation. In this context, let us talk about Monetary Policy Committee and then about repo and reverse repo rates. So the empowered 6-member Monetary Policy Committee can be constituted by the central government by the notification in the official gazette. Know that first such committee was constituted on September 29th of 2016. So who are MPC composed of? See, the Monetary Policy Committee will have 6 members who are the RBI Governor, who acts as the chairperson, the RBI Deputy Governor in charge of the monetary policy, one official nominated by the RBI board, and the remaining 3 members would represent the Government of India. Further, the external members hold office for a period of 4 years. Significantly, the Monetary Policy Committee determines the policy repo rate required to achieve the inflation target. Also, know that the MPC is required to meet at least 4 times in a year. Notably, the quorum for the meeting of the MPC is 4 members, and each member of the MPC has 1 vote. And in the event of an equality of votes, the governor has a second or casting vote. Now, talking about the repo rate, which stands for repurchasing option rate. So it is the rate at which the commercial banks borrow funds from the Reserve Bank of India against the collateral, typically the securities like treasury bills, gold, and bond papers. What do you think is the purpose for it? See, it is managed by the Reserve Bank of India and it regulates the liquidity and controls inflation by influencing the interest rates and the money supply in the banking system. What do you think is the mechanism for its working? Firstly, through the loan process, where the commercial banks sell the eligibility securities to the RBI to obtain funds and can repurchase the securities upon loan repayment. Then, through the interest on loans, like when the banks borrow money without securities as collateral, it is done at the bank rate, which differs from the repo rate. Then what is the significance of it with respect to inflation control? See, firstly, to curb inflation, the RBI raises the repo rate, making the borrowing costlier. Hence, this reduces the borrowing and lending activities, thereby decreasing the overall money supply. Next, higher repo rates increase the borrowing costs for banks, who then pass these costs to the customers, reducing the availability of credit and dampening the demand. Thirdly, increased repo rates make borrowing more expensive, reducing the consumer spending and investment, thus preventing excessive demand-driven inflation. Lastly, repo rate adjustments signal future inflation trends, influencing the behavior of businesses and consumers, who may then moderate price increases or delay purchases. Now, if we have to talk about the difference between the repo rate and the reverse repo rate, firstly, repo rate is the rate at which the commercial banks borrow the funds from RBI, whereas the reverse repo rate is the rate at which commercial banks deposit the funds with the RBI. Further, the reverse repo is typically lower than the repo rate and is used by the financial institutions to safely invest surplus funds. Then the repo rate manages inflation by controlling the borrowing costs, while the reverse repo manages the liquidity by providing a mechanism for the banks to deposit excess funds. So we have reached the end of today's discussion. We have discussed 10 articles from the Hindu and the Indian Express from the UPSC CSA prelims perspective. We'll be back again tomorrow with another video. Thank you.